Hello, everybody, you wonderful people out there. It is me, Demetra Kaye of the Demetra Kaye Show, and I am sitting here with Donovan, a recovering Democrat Sadiq, also known as the Black Yul Brenner. The purpose of the Demetra Kaye Show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we're great people, but we can always strive to do better. I should say right at the top of the show, we are not live, but we'll be back live 5 p.m. Central Time to have a live conversation with you, so please do not miss it. Today, we're going to be talking about regret and whether we have regrets of not voting for Kamala, right? And of course, I'm going to get into a little bit more specifics with that in just a second. But Donovan, what say you?
What say me? Welcome. This is the podcast again, you guys. We are not live. Thank you guys for tuning in. Whenever you guys can get it, do us a favor. Hey, we know times are tough, whatever, but I'm going to give you guys a deal that will blow your mind. If you hit that like button, it is absolutely free, and it also helps the algorithm. Also, if you guys want to continue to donate to have these great conversations, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, Cash Money Order, all that stuff is great too. Also, do not forget the Black Expo, Columbus, Ohio. It is coming up. Demetra Kaye, the African Diaspora News Channel Group, Vicki Dillard, Brother Phil Scott, all sorts of people are going to be there. If you guys get a chance, it is your opportunity to ask questions and see the African Diaspora News Channel crew live, Columbus, Ohio. Check out Demetra Kaye's Facebook page. Check out my Facebook page. Gives you all the information there to get your tickets and links and all that other great stuff to do that. Also, since we're talking about the African Diaspora crew, don't forget about the African Diaspora News Network's app. You can get it on Google Play, Apple Store, and subscription. A yearly subscription is the best bang for your buck. That's what I do. And as you guys know, a lot of stuff is happening all around the diaspora, and you guys need to be informed. And that's the best way to do it, because let's face it, network TV, they're not going to tell you what's going on around in in the black world, fear of a black planet. The bottom line is this. If you don't think you've ever done anything, you will never do anything. That's why they don't want to show you what's going on in Africa, what's going on in the Caribbean, what's going on in Asia. Yes, there are Black people in Asia, believe it or not. So again, African Diaspora News Channel app, Google Play, Apple Store. Download it, become a member, subscribe. Also, you could be a member. You could buy a membership here on the Demetra Kaye Show. Subscribe and become a member. Let's get into this conversation. This is very interesting because, Demetra, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have some regrets.
Well, it sounds like a lot of people as of late they do have some regret of not voting for Kamala. Of course, you guys know that Kamala and Donald Trump were running for the presidency of the United States in 2024. Of course, unless you lived under a rock or in a very deep cave somewhere, you know that Donald Trump is now our president, the 47th president. First, he was 45. He was running to be 46, but he was not successful. Again, he is 47th president of the United States, and he has gone into the White House with a wrecking ball. Now, depending on what poll you believe, he has an approval rating, I guess, around maybe 44%, give or take, depending on what poll. Now, some of the things that contribute to his low polling, and it said that it's relatively low. It says handling of the economy, 40% approve, while 55% disapprove. Trade policy, 39% approve, 55% disapprove. Foreign policy, 40% approve, 54% disapprove. Immigration issues, 45% approve, 50 disapprove. And deportations, 42 approve, 53% approve. Now, it says the decline in President Trump's approval rating is largely driven by public concern over the economic impact of his Liberation Day tariffs. These tariffs have led to market instability and fears of increased consumer prices. Additionally, younger voters and Latino communities have shown decreasing support, and there is growing skepticism about the administration's economic strategies. Despite the overall decline, Trump's core base remains supportive, viewing his economic policies as necessary for national revival. Now, again, there's a lot of people who have expressed remorse in voting for Trump. They said that they should have voted for Kamala. They think that she would have been better off. We wouldn't be seeing a lot of the things that we're seeing. regarding the tariff wars. I guess you could call it that. Y'all know last week Trump raised tariffs on a whole bunch of countries, and then he changed his mind. But China, he's like, not you. It's the United States has 145% tariffs on China. China then levied 125% tariffs on the United States, but then Trump walked some of it back and says, okay, well, we're going to keep the electronics at 10% because I guess he saw that Apple, Tim Cook and them took 2 or 3 planes over to China themselves and brought back their own phones. They was like, listen, we can circumvent all that. So I'm imagining a lot of other companies were saying, we could do the same thing too. Like we let y'all fight all that out. So there's a lot of instability going on. The market was going up and down and all kind of stuff. So there's a lot of wonkiness going on. Of course, with the deportation thing, there are some people who are being erroneously deported. So people are kind of uncertain about that. Seeing a lot of things that's going on in the universities where they're taking funding. People are getting snatched out of classes and deported. There was a case where one man who was in the building, swearing in for his citizenship, and they deported him or snatched him up before he could do that. So a lot of people kind of raising an eyebrow about that. Not listening to the judges, I guess kind of forming some witch hunts on judges and things like that. So yeah, a lot of people are kind of also, he has very staunch support for Israel. Of course, I don't want to get too much into that, but very staunch support. And I've even seen a lot of his staunch supporters, MAGA supporters, saying, I voted for you, but I have regrets because this is the United States of America, not the United States of Israel. What is going on here? Of course, they're trying to, put all these anti-Semitism mechanisms in place to, I guess, catch people up if they seem to be anti-Semitic, right? So again, there's a whole lot going on. Again, a lot of people are saying, I think I made the wrong decision. I don't think Kamala would have done any of this to us. I think we would have been better off. So Donovan, with all of that, are you remorseful that you did not vote for Kamala? I did not vote for Kamala, but as I always say, who I voted for is going to be between me. But you guys know for sure, I did not vote for Kamala.
Am I remorseful voting for Kamala? I told you so. No, I'm not. I am glad I voted for Donald Trump because where we're at today, and people got to say this, the status quo, right? Oh, look, he's messing up the economy. He's doing this, he's doing that. Well, I'm going to ask you guys an honest question. When are we going to actually take on the problems that are going on in the United States? Under the Biden-Harris administration, under the Obama administration, under even the Bush administration, the same old has been going on. I am definitely glad I voted for Trump for the simple fact that in this economic system, my people are at the bottom. So logically, it does not make sense for me to continue to support a system that keeps my people at the bottom. So something had to change. Something had to be shaken up. We found billions of dollars that we work our asses off, and it's going in people's pockets, and it's going in places that we don't need it to go. If we're talking about the Israel thing, and I know we don't want to get into that too much, there's no difference between Trump and Biden. So that's good to go. Biden gave billions and billions of dollars to Israel. So nobody should have a problem with what's going on between Biden and Trump. I will say this about Trump. In the stats that you read, he is consistently in the 40s in regards to his people, in regards to approval rating. So there's a staunch group of people that are in support of him. Of course, you've got the liberal Democrats that are we just hate him and we got no plan and we're just going to fight Trump. Fight Trump based on what? What is the plan, Democrats? You just can't run on, oh, we're just going to get Trump out of there and hate Trump. What's your plan afterwards once you do get him out? Because he's going to be out in 4 years, regardless of anything else you have to say. So what is your plan? The system has to be addressed sooner or later. And I'm going to tell you, yes, I look at people that, I voted for Trump because you thought he was going to do this, and he's going to get these people out of here, and he's going to stick it to the black man and all this other stuff. Hey, It is what it is. We have to address these problems. Government needs to be reined in. We're spending too much money over here and over there, and wherever you want to do it. I'm glad that he is tearing this thing up and turning it on its head, because now people, just like they tell us, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Now everybody's gonna have to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. If I'm not an economics person, but again, you got to really look at the source of the information. If you go to the Asian countries, just like in Vietnam, do you guys realize 90% of all U.S. goods could not get into the Vietnamese market? Trump puts a tariff on them, a fair tariff that was equal to their tariff. They don't want no tariffs at all. Do you guys realize that almost 60-something% of American goods could not get into the Chinese market? So now you got 125, whatever. So you guys got to understand how these tariffs work and what is going on in between these borders. The European Union is based on what? Closed down borders. There's no borders when it comes to their goods. So there's no tariffs, there's no nothing. It's free exchange. We all believe in democracy, right? We all believe in capitalism, right? So it should be a free exchange. Why is it that my products can't get into your market, but all your products can get into my market? So I agree with him on some things. I don't agree with Trump on everything. But what I do have a problem with, Demetra, is this. When I ask people, is there anything that you agree with what Donald Trump is doing, and they tell me that they don't agree with anything, that's a lost person. Because again, like Ronald Reagan said, you're not going to get 100% of everything, but he would rather get 80% of 100 than nothing of 100.
Yeah, and I should also say too that the Democrats, their approval rating is not good at all. It's between 27 and 36%. Again, depending on what poll you believe, and that's the lowest rating since March of 2018. Now, a lot of people who feel disenfranchised by the Democrats say that they have no message, no leader to take them into the midterms or even 2028 for the next presidential election. They also say that they have no backbone. Case in point with the spending budget that the Republicans wanted, and the Democrats were wholeheartedly against. Senator Chuck Schumer went in there and says, well, put it that way. And, he acquiesced. And of course, it caused even more of a rift with the Democrat Party. So a lot of people aren't really happy. Sounds like, kind of really on both sides of the aisle, people are like, what the heck is going on? But I will say in regards to tariffs, regardless of who is paying what and raising what, the people pay. The people are going to pay. It ain't going to be Trump. It's not going to be the president of China or anywhere else. It's going to be the people. The people are suffering one way or the other, which is why China, they've been on TikTok and all over the social media telling people, oh, those purses y'all was buying and those clothes and this, that, and the other, y'all could go right over here. They sell that in America. Y'all could get it for dirt cheap. So they giving up the game. So that might be a plus for, the American consumer. Is like, really? And of course, a lot of these high-end people, designers, they're really mad. Like, wait a minute now. So they could thank Trump for that. And they're even like Chinese people are there. Here, this is what you can do. I'm the connect. I can help you get A, B, C, and D for dirt cheap. They even talking about wigs and weaves. Talking about it's a whole human head wig for $400. I can show you where to get it in America, or we can send it to you for $40. So they're like, they want to play hardball Americans. Basically, what they're saying is, regardless of what's going on, y'all getting screwed. And I think when people think about tariffs, they see it in this grand scheme, but they don't see it on the bottom level. Is that, yeah, the people are got to pay for that. You're talking about the people who live in a country where minimum wage nationally is $7.25. Housing, most Americans are paying more than 50% of their income for housing. The grocery store, prices are still crazy. I don't eat eggs, but I take people's word for it that it's high. Gas is all right now, but summer ain't here yet. And experts have said that it's coming. Gas is going to be high, right? So I say all that to say, when we talk about tariffs and Trump is sticking to these other countries, yeah, I guess in a sense it should be fair trade, because that's exactly what it is, right? It should be fair trade. But do you consider the people? We ain't talking about the people. And listen, because I was having this conversation with somebody else, and they're like, oh, it's a good thing, this, that, and the other. I said, this trickles up when Poor people cannot shop. Normally, they buy from the middle class, and the middle class is going upward. So this is going to trickle up, because one thing people will do, and they're going to buy some things, but people tighten the purse strings. They say, hey, that summer vacation we was gonna take, now we gonna have to do a backyard boogie, homie, or whatever the case is. So I just kind of want to speak to the tariff thing, because I think a lot of times people just kind of blanket it. Oh, Trump he's one bad dude when it comes to the tariff. Is like, no, he's kicking the American people in the tailbone, right? Anyway, so as far as having regret, no, I don't have regret. As I said, I'm unique in that I know how to argue from the middle. I don't know. I'm not going to die on no hill. Now, I did not vote for Kamala for a whole lot of reasons that I've spoken a copious amount of times. And even with some of the things that I see from the Trump administration that I do not like, I still do not have regret, because I feel like Trump is going to make the Black American community great again. We are waking up and we are learning that we have no friends. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us a long time ago, we have no friends in that White House. Nobody on either side of the aisle is going to help Black people. So we have to do for self. So we are realizing that. Now, I had a conversation with a friend. He called me and what do you have to say now? Trump, look what he's doing. So we talked about an hour. And when we got off the phone, he says, well, nice, we could debate. I said, nah, this was a schooling, homie. And he started laughing because I was like, what has Trump done to harm Black people overall? And he says, oh, well, and I said, stop right there, because I know what you're going to say. I said, don't give me that Black Lives Matter street being gone. Don't give me the George Floyd statues being gone. Don't tell me about the books and stuff they pulling out. I said, because Black people did not get a check when they put that street down there in Washington, the Black Lives. And he goes, well, I said, he's trying to say the federal job. I said, is it more Black people or more white people getting pulled up out of those jobs? He said, yeah, you're right. It is more white people. And I said, you know what the problem is? I said, this is where white people kind of learn in the hard way, is because they gatekeep so much stuff from Black people, and they ended up gatekeeping so much to where Black people are like, we're going to make it do what it do. If you don't believe me, Madam C.J. Walker, that was her house behind me, Via Lararo, right? So even from then to now, Black people like, I got to do what I got to do. Because white people gatekeeping all the jobs. They got all this nepotism. Is who all this, that, and the other, especially on the federal level. Elon said, okay, y'all got to go. It's a lot of waste, this, that, and the other. So that's kind of what happens when you gatekeep a lot of those things. Now, there's a few Black people who lost their jobs, and he was like, yeah, you're right. You're right. So I said, the other thing is, I said, what was Kamala going to do for Black people that Trump is not doing? He said, nothing. I said, so why did you call me? You could have called me, and because he bakes bread and stuff. I said, you could have gave me a bread recipe. We could have been on this phone talking about something more conducive, but I get it. I said, but this is the other thing, brother. I said, you a man. I said, stop speaking all that fear. I said, you called me a woman. A woman. Now, he's got a wife and stuff. I said, but you called a woman. I said, you're supposed to be calling me like, yeah, everything good. Don't you worry. We got this. We got this. I said, but you men, and I'm talking to you men, y'all got to stop pumping that fear. Y'all got to stop trembling at the knees behind the Trump administration, because Black people are starting to wake up. But one thing for sure is Kamala was going to have us in a coma, because she was not going to do nothing for us. She's going to continue doing what she was doing, and she's going to continue telling Black people, I'm not going to do nothing that just benefits you. No.
Well said. I couldn't said that better. I just want to go back to tariffs real quick also. Another good thing about tariffs that people keep forgetting is this. Okay, and you're right. Absolutely. Of course, the bottom people are going to get hurt. The regular American and the regular citizen is going to get hurt by tariffs. That's true. But guess what? Instead of buying the Nike, you might have to buy the spiky shoe. You know what I mean? You got to buy American. You're going to have to change your spending habits. I'm not saying you have to, but in some cases, you might have to do that. You might buy American. I don't know, but I agree with you. It does hurt the people, but as a Black person, we're already at the bottom of the economic scale. So it's going to hurt us, but not as much as it's hurting these other people. And this is what happens. Again, this is why I am on the thing of tear the system down. And I don't mean that in a revolutionary way or in an illegal way. I mean, tear the system down, because if my people are at the bottom, why would I want to support a system that keeps my people at the bottom? I am not for the status quo. I am for a new way forward. And if this thing that is happening, I'm sitting back eating my popcorn and watching what's going on. And guess what? My life has barely changed. My life has barely changed. Now, I'm in California. Gas prices are high. They're even going to get higher. But of course, I strategically think I have an e-bike. So if I need to go somewhere, I'll get on my e-bike and do what I have to do. But again, I'm with you too, because a lot of men that I talk to, they're the first ones to talk about fear. Fellas, men, we think strategically. Strategically means long term, what's going to happen down the road. Women, not so much. Women think strategically. You know, you guys do, but you guys are more short term. You don't think as long as a man does. So, of course, you're not going to agree with that. Because if that's the case, $400 weave. No, don't get me started on that. $400 weave when you got rent due doesn't make any sense. Okay, so no. If Kamala got reelected, we would still see our neighborhoods flooded with illegal migrants, resources that were supposed to be that are scraps from the federal government that were supposed to be to help us and to help the poor American will be given to these other people, because the whole plan with that, if you guys even understand politics like that, was to make one party rule. The Democrats feel that if they give all of these things to these migrants and stuff, these people are going to vote for them unilaterally. Why do you think the Democrats are not for ID voting? That doesn't make any sense. Everybody has an ID, some kind of form of ID. You're driving a car, aren't you? So why would the Democrats be against ID voting? I mean, you know, common sense stuff. We would just be rocked to sleep, and Black people would be at a very, I would think, a very precarious position if Kamala lasted another 4 years of her in office. Because you guys got to remember, the economy the way it is right now, and I know we're still recovering from COVID, and we've been in a recession since 2019, believe it or not. But with the billions of dollars and the artificial economy that was created by the Joe Biden administration, where do you think we would be at right now if we don't address these problems? It would still continue, and we would be completely in shambles right now. We would be in shambles financially. We wouldn't even be in a recession. We would be in an actual depression. And when you're in an actual depression, where would Black people be in a situation like that? We would be like they were in the Great Depression of years ago. We would be left to our own devices. Do you guys realize FDR and the New Deal did not initially include Black people? How many of you guys know that? The New Deal was to help the white man and his family. The Black person was excluded. So in today's modern thing, since we're an afterthought when it comes to everything else, artificial economy that will fail, where do you think? Oh, we don't have they would give us the same excuses they always give us. Oh, wow, we've got a problem with China. Black folks, y'all gonna have to wait on those reparations. Oh, we got a problem with this. We got to fix this. Y'all gonna have to wait on that. We're always put last, but we put them first.
Man, I got to circle back around to some things, but yeah, as far as the feeling the pain argument, I had another conversation with another person about the feeling the pain or what's going to be painful for a while. It's like it ain't going to be painful for some people. It's going to be painful for a lot of people. It's going to be painful for the people who don't want, to be caught up in this nonsense, of this back and forth, things like that. So it's always, the people who ain't gonna feel the pain and say, "Oh, you'll be all right." You gonna get through this. It's like, nah, that's wrong. So anyway, I don't care. I mean, I do care. I don't know what's gonna go on with these little tariff things, but some tells me Trump bit off more than he could chew, and that's why he's walking a lot of this stuff back. Because China is like, come on now, you trying to bully China into something, and China's like, man, hold my beer. Okay, it's gonna get a lot worse before it get better before we bend over and kiss the ring. But as far as people needing to scale back, people are gonna do that naturally. But I also think too, there there's a lot of people who are buying material things like Nikes and things, but there's a lot of people who's not. There's a lot of people, even before this tariff situation took place, trying to figure out how they're gonna put food on the table, and these are working poor people and things like that. So I'm just kind of one of those people who's like, yeah, there's some people who probably buy things they shouldn't, but I think a lot of people, for the most part, are buying things that they need and still can't afford to do that. Now, I want to talk.
Wait, let me interject. I just ask you a question real quick. Have the term "working poor" that doesn't exist anymore? It's called the working homeless. Have you heard that term yet? It's
I
called
have heard that, but that I would venture most people. I would venture there's a lot of people who are working poor, which means that there are people who are working 40 hours a week and they are still poor. They cannot make ends meet. They cannot pay for necessities, and they probably do not have that $400 emergency cushion, right? So that's the working poor. And I think that doesn't get talked about enough because people seem to kind of blanket everybody. Oh, wait, what's your problem? You ain't got no money. Why you ain't got no money? It's like, I'm working. Because to this elitist idea, when you want to see your ass into McDonald's or a hotel or something like that, you gonna need somebody to take your order or carry your bags or whatever it is. Now, a lot of people working in those industries are the working poor. Or if you go to Walmart, Target, the grocery store, you're going to need somebody to stock the shelves. You're going to need somebody to check you out. Somebody going to have to go get those carts out the parking lot so you can walk your happy self in the store and shop, right? So that's why we really need to, and I'm just, speaking in general, and this has kind of been my platform for a very long time. We got to be careful when we blanket everybody with you should just work harder. You should just pull yourself up by the bootstraps. It's like, it ain't that easy. Because again, to the working homeless point, yeah, there's a lot of people sleeping in their cars and they going in them high-rise buildings and they are working every day and they don't have enough money to pay for the rent or whatever it is, because as I said, most people are paying more than half of their income on housing. And I'm talking about housing, I'm talking about the roof and the four walls. I'm not talking about all the stuff that go in the house, electricity, and just the house, right? So that something needs to happen with that. But anyway, I want to talk about your appeal to ignorance, brother. And so I was going to circle back around. Which basically means you arguing something that has no evidence that women have more short-term thinking than men do. I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, how do you back that up? What is your evidence, brother, to back that up? And come with the real.
Okay, my evidence is the rise of homeless, especially in our community, Black women. It's not the fact that, like you said, we were just talking about the homeless, the working homeless and all this other stuff. It's not the fact that these women are not working. How are women buying all of these homes? And they always say, oh, there are more women that buy homes than any other group of people. And that's probably true, but they're not. But they're also not saying that these women are also losing the homes because they're not strategically planning. I'm not saying all of them, because we're not in an all-inclusive type thing, but a majority of women do not think long-term. That's usually a man trait, to think long-term and do the plan. And if he does it with his wife or whatever, women are usually too distracted living and raising children to really worry about like 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, whatever. So, I mean, that's just where it's at. But strategically, I say the reason why they don't think long-term, because the pandemic of these women being homeless, not just Black women, just women in general, shows me that if you're working and you're doing all these things, how are you homeless? I'm not saying that you can't be homeless, but if you're strategically thinking and making sure your rent is paid first, this is done and that is done, or if you can't afford to live in a certain place, you should move out. If you go on TikTok, and I don't have a TikTok account, but I look at some videos, you will see all of these women on there, young girls, talking and begging, cash at me this and this, that, and that. And a lot of them are just saying they're not making it. And that's where I'm coming from with that. And I'm seeing it actually in the community that I live in.
Well, I'm going to tell you again, that was the appeal to ignorance, because your evidence does not compute, brother. There are more homeless Black men than women in the United States of America, although Black people as a whole make up the most homeless population. Even at 13%, disproportionately, we make up the most homeless, but more men, Black men, are homeless to the tune more than black women. So that's what I said. I get it. I guess I could get it. Women are horrible creatures, and we bit the damn apple, and we had Adam bite the apple too. But at some point in time, we're gonna have to come to the table and stop all this finger pointing, because as it's been said, now listen, I'm a black woman, and since ain't nobody gonna teach me, tell me about black women. I've been one for 54 years now, okay? And that's why I always say, what I despise more than anything is a lot of these men getting on the internet and telling black women, you black women, this thing. How is it that y'all know more about women than men unless you a woman? You know what I mean? That's why. So I'm telling y'all that just to give y'all my resume. I know about being black women, but so that I know that black women can be hard-headed. I know a lot of times, not all, some can't say nothing to her. She thinks she know everything. She got a hard, exterior and interior. But I'm going to have to bring the Honorable Elijah Muhammad into it. And you know what I'm about to say. Every no good woman was made that by a no good man. Now, you could do what you want. As Farrakhan say, you could take it or let it alone. I'm not even going to argue that point. But the point is, yeah, black women got issues. But what's wrong with the man? What's wrong with the man, right? You're talking about all these women, black women that are homeless. Where is the man? Because I'm going to tell you right now, my daughter's father, we had a lot of issues, but God damn it, one thing he would never do. If I said, me and you ain't together, we don't get along, but me and your daughter about to be homeless, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to put this on my mama. He would go and collect all the cans he needed to make sure that me and his daughter had somewhere to stay. He would not see me and my daughter in no car, nowhere, homeless. You know why? Because I wouldn't see him that way. So what I'm saying is, if all these black women are out there on the streets with their children and this, that, and the other, where in the hell is the black man to say, not on my watch, even if you a hard-headed heifer, I'm not going to have you and my children on the street?
Got an answer for you. When feminism came in the 1970s, I know you hate this answer, and Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Elijah Muhammad is exactly right. In that day, we are in a new day. Wait. In that day, we're in a new day. Feminism took over our community. The only community in the world where the matriarchy is strong is in Black America, specific Black America. You cannot go anywhere outside of the United States and the matriarchy is going to be strong. It's not going to happen. Only in Black America, because the fathers are absent. Why are the fathers absent? Because feminism told the Black woman, you don't need your man. Now, I agree with you. The man should be there for whatever reasons, but they're not, because women choose and they do not prioritize marriage. Kevin Samuel said this years ago. Winter is coming. We are seeing winter now for our women. And the reason why these Black men do not step up to the plate is because they were raised by single female women. And when you're raised by a single female woman, you will pick up some of those traits of a female: jealousy, insecurity, this, that, this. That is the reason why men are not stepping up, because we are now in our third generation of young men who did not have, in a lot of cases, fathers in the home. This is not to put blame on women. The thing is, what I'm saying is, most women do not strategically think. They want to live now. They're living day to day. They want to live in a couple of months or whatever. They only see a couple of months of what they're going to do. I can't tell you how many friends I know of that will go and get a house. They say, oh, Donovan, I got this house, whatever, right? And I said, okay, that's great. But they didn't take into consideration, you got to have property tax to pay for. You got to have insurance on the house. You got to do this for the house. You got to do that for the house. Then you add all that up and they realize, wow, I'm working at Taco Bell. I can't afford the house. And that's happening in a lot of situations. A lot of women are told, go to school and get an education. One of the biggest lies ever told to the generation after the baby boomers: you're going to get a good job. That was a lie, because that's not true. I've got 12 degrees and I ain't got no job. But the point is, women are told to get this great education and stuff, right? They get all this damn debt, and then they're working. Men are smart enough to say, hey, this isn't for me. I'll go to vocational school, and some of them don't even do that. But the point is, they're into these titles, they're into these things. It's just insanity. Look at currently all of these Black female elected officials and what is going on with them. I don't know if it's a season or something that's going on, but they get to these power positions and it just blows their mind. Rather than being a good representative or a good steward of the public's trust and money, they want to be reality stars. And I'm not saying that that's the issue. What I'm saying is, in general, women do not strategically think long term. They don't. And the proof is in the pudding.
And I hate to say it, brother, but you didn't prove nothing. You didn't prove nothing. You went on with a whole bunch of tropes and all kind of stuff, talk about the Black matriarchy. What is the cause of what's going on with the Black community and feminism and all of that? And listen, men, I love y'all. This is probably where I'm going to lose a lot of y'all. But listen, Demetra Kaye ain't going to bite her tongue. Okay? I get tired. And that's what for God and all the disciples are hearing Black men put their tail between their legs and blame women. But whatever, I get it. The Black community is probably more matriarchal than patriarchal. But again, y'all talking about women won't let us do this, because that's what I heard. Oh, Black women won't let us do nothing. Yeah, well, no, brother, I didn't cut you off. What I heard was Black women are so matriarchal, which in a way is masculine. We can't be men. We can't raise our sons. They just with our sons and they teaching them to be, soft and all this feminine and all this other stuff. That's what I heard. Because as I said, I don't know no man. My daddy, my brothers, my baby daddy, I don't know no man that would sit up and say, oh, well, my wife, my ex-wife, or nobody would let me be a father to my child. And as I also say, as you men keep a lot of men in the child support system because y'all say, oh, y'all ain't gonna win. The woman always right. And then the brother don't show up and then he get his tailbone kicked in by the system when all he had to do is show up and say, that's my child. I love my child. I want at least 50% custody or whatever the case is. But running around blaming women, unless I said Black women got issues. Trust me, Black women, they got a lot of issues that I've had in life had to do with Black women. Okay, so I'm going to say that. But I get tired of hearing Black men not take accountability for the state of the community. You should not have no child out there that's not seen you and then out of your mouth say, oh, the mama won't let me. As my nephew would say, and I'm going to clean this up, this makes you a 5-letter kitty cat. And I'm going to be respectful, okay? A 5-letter kitty cat. Any man talking about no woman won't let me. See, I wasn't raised by no man like that. My dad is an alpha in the true sense. I've never heard him utter the word that a woman won't let me do nothing. Because men don't walk and they don't talk like that. So has feminism has something to do with our community? Something. But that cannot and continue being the reason that Black men are not in the lives of their children. Cannot continue being the reason why they blame women for the state of the community. I'm asking Black men, straighten your backbone and don't ever utter again that a Black woman or a woman nowhere won't let me be a man.
All right. You said a lot. Now, the whole issue here had nothing to do with anything that you just said. Wait. I'll let you stop. What we're talking about had nothing to do with what you just said. Because you, as a feminist that are out there, a lot of feminists out there, they hear a certain word and they go far left with it. And that's what you just did. Wait. Let me finish. No. I'm not calling you a feminist. I'm not calling you a feminist.
Because listen, I got to tell people all the time I may be getting older, but I'm not slow. Because see, to the untrained ear and people who don't know this
Mhm.
would have mistaken you to call me a feminist. Because I'm gonna tell you how you said it. You said because like a lot of feminists, they take something they don't and hear something else again. So be careful. I am not a feminist, never have been, and never will be. So be careful when you level straw men against me.
Okay. Now let me finish. The point is, this is not about who the baby daddy is and all of that. You took it far left. This whole thing was about strategic thinking. It is a fact. Women cannot strategically think in general. They don't do it. Men do it more so than women. That's what this was about. I'll land my plane there.
Right. And so with that, you're the one that brought that up as women being short-termed in their thinking, and you had absolutely no evidence to back that up. You brought up a whole bunch of stuff that was not, and then you brought up homelessness, and I told you that black men are more homeless than black women. So again, that's why, and that's a technical term, appeal to ignorance, because that's people who throw stuff out there with no evidence attached to it. And
I
then
have evidence. Like I said, my source is different than yours, but go ahead.
What? Because you've seen more black women out there than you've actually seen black men?
Yes, my source is different than yours, but go ahead.
Your source is a little flawed. Okay, I'm just gonna tell you that.
That's your opinion. That's your opinion. That's your opinion.
But
go ahead.
again, brother, I don't care what hill you die on. I don't give me no, because I got a roof over my goddamn head. So you ain't talking about me. The point that I'm making is when we say certain things, we need to be able to back them up. Because as they say in the nation, it's not what you know, it's what you could prove. And so the reason I say that, and I wasn't even going to stop there, but when I hear that, I'm like, I know there's people out there like, damn, you ain't going to check them. He around here talking about women are short-term thinkers when there's so many women, to debunk that, you know what I mean? Maybe the women and that's I always say, confine that statement or whatever it is to the circle of women that may be short-term, hard-headed, can't listen to no man, she's sassafras senior, whatever. But that ain't all women. There's a lot of women. There's a lot of women around here doing some dope and dynamic things, and I'm one of them. I'm a very long-term thinker. I know how to think long-term. I don't think in the short. Sometimes I do, because some things take short-term thinking. But to say that the black woman is solely, she's the most homeless woman, but to say that's all her fault, I think that sounds like a man, and forgive me for this, shirking his responsibilities as a man and try to simplify it as, oh, well, it's feminism. Y'all burnt y'all bras, and so now you're the most homeless, because that's kind of where it went from feminism to now you're homeless.
Okay, and I respect your opinion, but regardless, we all know there's a truth to everything that we're saying. Everybody has a valid point. You can say feminism part of it. We agree. Feminism is a part of it. We can say homeless fathers or absentee fathers. We can say that's a part of it. We can say hard-headed women. We can say that's a part of it. All of this plays a part. Now, if I happen to take one part of it and I say this is what I'm going to stand on, you, my sister, are not in a position to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, because all points are valid. So I'm like when you had your point, I'm never going to be on a show and check you because somebody else wants me to check you. No, that's your opinion. I'm going to let you have your opinion, and that's your opinion. We are not in an absolute world. We are not in all of that. We all know that, right? So if your opinion and your experience says that you've seen this, wow, that's interesting. Donovan's experience and what he says he experiences this. Is everything Donovan says it's true? Possibly, but it could possibly not be. You just got to look that up on your own. Your source of your facts and my source of my facts are two different things. But it's what we believe. You have Islam, you have Judaism, you have Christianity. It all depends on what you believe. All facts are the facts of what a person believes. The issue is, I don't really care, and I notice this. You always reference everything to the baby boomers and Generation X. We were the last generation that had that type of structure. I'm talking about the new, what's going on today. with these young people, whatever. But I'm not here to talk about absentee fathers and whatever. I'm here to talk about the issue of the tariffs and why certain things are going the certain ways. It is and you can see it every day. You see it every day. In my experience here, there are hell of a lot of homeless women, black women out here, gentrified from LA or whatever their situation is. Why the fathers are there, we don't know. But what I do know is Donald Trump is going to make us as black men and women and force us to come together. That's all I do know. Because if we don't, we're going to be extinct.
As I've said this to a few people, and I'm gonna say this again. And you know what? As I heard it once from a wise woman who was not a short-term thinker, she says, it may be tight, but it's right. You can have your opinions, but falsehood is gonna get checked. Whether I do them, whether these people back here do them. So the false, because as I always said, I'm very opinionated. I've got strong opinions. But I want to when I'm here or anywhere, if somebody's listening to me, I want to make sure they're more fact-based than opinion-based. Opinions are cute. They really are. But with opinions, whether you like it or not, they come with responsibility. So we want to be as close to the truth as possible, whether their opinions or not. It's my opinion that, okra it's a waste of a vegetable, but that's probably not a very sound opinion because okra has some good benefits. I just don't care for it right now. It's espouse my opinion out of me not caring for okra for that it's a bad and they need to get rid. See what I'm saying? Because I could be very convincing, but it'd be some nonsense nevertheless. So we want to make sure that our opinions are not leading into falsehoods. Not saying that you were, I'm just saying that we got to be careful because there's people who are watching and they're here watching because they're trying to learn something. And I see that a lot, especially nowadays, especially since Mark Zuckerberg said he's taking all these controls and things off of social media. I see all kind of stuff. I block stuff all day long because it's just anything goes and it's a laugh from the pit of hell. And most people post it because they think it's true. So I want to be clear that we need to be as close to the truth as possible. As I always say, if I lie, it ain't going to be on purpose because I'm not a liar. That's one trait that I do not own and never have is to be a liar. Have I told a little white lie here and there in my life? Sure. But just be out there lying? No. Okay. The other thing is with this generation then is 5-letter kitty cats. Okay. Now I would agree. They're not like our generation. And we weren't like our parents and so on and so forth. Things have gotten watered down. But that's not to say that's the total case. Again, not dealing in absolutes. There's a lot of people who are operating traditionally, if you will. They're in a traditional relationship, marriage. They're raising a traditional family. So that part never gets spoken about. Unfortunately, what gets spoken about the most is the degeneracy. Now, is there more degeneracy now than then? Probably. Because there's a lot of things, I don't have time to get into all of that. Yes. But there's a lot of people that have and are doing the right thing. But again, one thing that'll never, ever, ever go out of style is a man being a man and a woman being a woman. And as I said, my daddy is 81 years old. My brother, my youngest one, he's 45, got a brother that's 55, and I have friends in between there, and I've never heard or seen them wave the white flag to no woman. I've never seen or heard them give their testicles verbally or physically to no woman. Never. Like I said, I don't come from that. My baby daddy, as many problems as we had, I've never seen him say, I'm not going to do and be what men are. Never. I don't know that. I'm sorry, but I'm not.
Right. Now, have you noticed as a woman, you stand up for womanhood, and I'm proud of you for standing up for womanhood when you think women are being disrespected or whatever. But as a man, I stand up for manhood. See, so we both have our roles and what we're going to do and what we believe. I'm not going to stand here and let men be slandered. Not that, and you weren't doing that, but I'm saying my nature as a man says no, because like you, I don't know any men that shirks his responsibilities. I didn't shirk my responsibility. My brother didn't shirk his responsibilities. Whatever. Right. So again, standing up for women, I'm proud that you're doing that, because you're one of those women that come from that thing that is fair, and you're reasonable, and you were raised to be a woman that you are, and that's a great thing. So again, when you see me defend or whatever, I'm doing that because that's me as a man. I see what you do as a woman, and I do, at least I think I do the best that I can, because I just noticed this a little bit. We're talking about strategic thinking. I don't know how we got into the baby daddy thing. I don't know how we got into that. No, I talked about strategic thinking. I didn't say anything about that. But if that's how you feel, that's how you feel about it, because I'm gonna have to go back and watch this tape, because I was saying strategic thinking. How we got in. No, I did say the matriarch and the motherhood, but that had nothing to do with daddies being responsible. I don't know how we got into that.
Because you said women are more short-term in their thinking
Yes.
than men.
Yes. But how does that get into fatherhood and father's responsibility? I don't know. I don't know how that got into that. But I did say the matriarchy in the Black America is strong. I don't know how it got into father's responsibilities. I don't know if you heard something. I don't know how we got to that, but it's about strategic thinking. But my point is, as a man, I'm going to stand up for manhood. As a woman, you're going to stand up for sisterhood and womanhood, and I respect it wholeheartedly. And again, if we agree or we disagree, when we're talking about men of how it used to be, those days are long gone. We're talking about these new kids that are being raised, that are adults now. I have a son that's 33 years old, and he's not built like me, whatever, was raised pretty much by his mom or whatever. It is what it's going to be. We're not talking about the days of old, the good old days. We're talking about what's going and moving forward. And unfortunately, these young people, men and women, have lost the ability of doing for self. And we've got to get back to teaching doing for self, if not for them, for the grandkids.
Yeah, I know quite a few people who are doing for self. And as far as standing up for women, before you started speaking, I was standing up for men. I was just standing up for men. I was standing up for the aforementioned men that I mentioned, and that they are men in every sense of the word. So I was standing up for men. As you said, I know how to argue the middle. I'm not throwing rocks at men. I can. I'm not throwing rocks at women. I can. I like to, if I'm gonna do it, I like to do it even handedly, right? Because with men and women, there's a yin and a yang, there's a counterbalance. There's a whole lot of things going on with that. It takes men and women to produce life. It also takes men and women to sustain it and to raise it and to train it. It takes men and women to do that. So, and as far as you say, you don't know how we got here, brother, I know how to follow the breadcrumbs. It's called, following the logic. You brought that. I don't even know why you brought it up. You said women think short term and men are strategic thinking, this, that, and the other. And I think if we really define a strategic, maybe I should ask you, what do you define as strategic thinking?
Strategic thinking is long-term planning. In the military, you have tactical, which is like that day, what happens that day, what you're going to do that day or for a short period of time, tactical. Then you have strategic, long-term effects, what's going to happen in the long term. That's the definition.
That's the definition of strategic.
Strategic is long-term.
Do you know you can think short-term and strategically?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the women can think strategically. Strategically, it's just setting goals and planning. Actually, setting plans. It's setting a plan to get to the goal, right? Setting things in place to help you reach a goal. There's short-term goals and there's long-term goals. So strategic planning thinking can be done in short-term and long-term situations. So that's kind of why I took it. one of the reasons why I took exception to that, because it's like, in a sense, it's like you're punching down on women who are homeless. And you know what? There's probably a lot of women and people out there who are strategic thinkers. And sometimes the plan does not reach the goal. Sometimes the goal is not met. Sometimes people lose their job. That's part of the getting to the goal, is working, raising enough money, saving money, and cutting back things. And it's those things sometimes don't come to fruition, and goals aren't met. So there's a lot of reasons why people are out there, but I think to deduce it down to feminism, and black women being the most matriarch. I think it's just a little too blanket.
Well, it could be blanketed, but like I said, that's not just the only reason. Those are parts of a reason. When out here, I think, and this is my opinion, I think it is ludicrous for a person to be out here by themselves, because it is evident to me, black, white, Asian, whatever, I don't care what your background is, especially these young people. I look at these young people, they're not making it by themselves. The average person cannot afford rent, a car note, and whatever by themselves. Because as you said, 50% of their income is on housing, whatever. You either got to get a roommate or something like that. And what I'm saying is those little bits of things that we've embedded into our children is making them become not successful in the aspect of group economics and things of that nature. We promoted individualism versus overall group think and group achievement.
I guess. So anyway, I don't know. Yeah, it kind of got off. It got kind of off, and I just want to do a point of correction as well in regards to strategic, because you mentioned military, says of relating to the gaining or overall long-term military advantage. So that's right. I just want to so I ain't no hater. I'm gonna keep it real. I ain't got to lie to kick it, right? So you were correct in that. Another thing is carefully designed or planned to serve a particular purpose or advantage. So both of those things could be true. And I know a little bit about strategic planning. I won't tell you how, but I do. But yeah, with that, in regards to having remorse, again, that's how we do here. We gonna venture all off into the. You know what? So speaking of venture, how do you feel about Gail and all of them going to outer space yesterday? What were you excited or no?
Oh yes, it's a strike for feminism. We're showing these men that we could do it all our own. But notice, fellas, they were on a Jeff Bezos, a man's rocket. I took him up there.
And
delusional.
But you know who else was on that man's rocket? His fiance, Lauren Sanchez.
Yes, she was. Yes,
a 57-year-old woman with 3 kids and a couple of baby daddies, snagged the second richest man in the world.
She did. But see, yes. but my point is, this is a thing for feminism. Again, ladies.
That was Jeff's idea to put a
No. What I'm saying is that's great. I don't know what kind of symbolic thing it means for feminism, whatever. But at the end of the day, it was a man's rocket that puts you up there. It's a man's house that does the building. It's a man's civilization. Men create all that. The cell phone in your hand. That's all done by men. So you ladies, you need men because you guys ain't going to do those jobs.
Do you know who Katherine Johnson is, brother? Then what did Katherine do?
Forget Katherine Johnson. Let's go before Katherine Johnson.
Nah, brother. Nah.
The space program before Katherine Johnson. No. I know what she did. She did the math to get to the moon and all that other great stuff.
Period.
However, that was going to be done regardless if she was there or not, sooner or later.
You know what? I just think you don't want women to do nothing.
No,
I asked your opinion about them going, it was a man's rocket, you see? What is this feminism?
Because my wait.
That's Jeff's idea to have them go up there.
Right, no, and I get that. But having an all-female crew Does that put any more money in my pocket? Does that do anything for women? It doesn't. So what?
Did it put some money in your pocket when all men was going up there?
No, it didn't. That's my point. Who cares?
The power of Christ compels you.
But you got women talking about, look at women first. When I was in the military, you had an all-female crew and they made such a big deal of it, right? And I'm like, okay, great, whatever. So what? Black people had to get a special order to get an all-black crew. If you go in the military, you will never see an all-black flying crew. It's always either 2 blacks or maybe 1 black, whatever it is. So again, my point is, when people champion these things, and on this show, we talk about symbolism all the time. That's just a form of symbolism. Yeah, it's wow, all women crew went up to space, subspace, whatever. Great. I'm happy for them, but it doesn't really do anything. So what?
I don't know. I was indifferent to them going to the moon. I wouldn't have went. That's what I was mostly thinking. Like, wow, that takes some nerves, because I'm not really a roller coaster person either. I'll do it, but as I'm up there on the roller coaster or approaching it to get on the seats or whatever, I'm like, man, how I know the person that put this roller coaster together wasn't drinking on the job. That's how I be thinking, right? Or I'm thinking as it's going up to things like, oh my God, is the chain gonna break? I'm thinking that. So there's no way I would even get in no spaceship. Nowhere, nobody. I don't care who made it. It could be the right hand of Jesus putting it together. And I'm still not getting on a rocket ship, right? So I thought that was pretty brave. It was scary. It's a lot, not just because it's women, but anybody letting somebody shoot you up out of the world, basically. And I thought it was brave. And I thought about Gayle King, who I'm not a fan of, but she's 70. I'm like, my 54-year-old heart would have stopped. Just the minute they strapped me in there, I'd have been like, okay, I'm going to die now. Because again, my mind would have been ruminating on, what if this little flame, putters out and we're just, what if we get stuck up there? Like I'm not a negative person normally, but I do operate sometimes in wisdom. And I know that man is not perfect. So that's kind of what I thought. That is pretty cool. I also thought, well, Kaye, what would I be doing if I was up there looking down at the planet and stuff? I think I'd still be freaked out, because I'm one of those people like, damn, we got to come back down.
Remember, William Shatner went up there. He was in his 90s, Captain Kirk himself. But let me ask you this real quick. Do you actually believe we went to the moon?
I mean, there's been a lot of information to say that we didn't, a lot of debunking of it. I don't know if I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this. You're an intelligent woman, real quick before we go. There is solar radiation out there in space, right?
I take your word for it.
Very serious solar radiation. So 1960s, late 50s technology, 69, we kept going up there. And have you noticed, okay, and let's say you do believe we went to the moon. Ask yourself, why haven't we been back since? If we went, because it would be simple now with all the technology we got, right? We've only been in subspace. So me personally, and I'm just speaking for me, you guys, I do not believe we have gone to the moon. I don't believe it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I've seen a lot of theories, on it, and a lot of people debunked it. The flag, I think it's something it was doing is like if there was no gravity or whatever on the moon, there's shadows and just a whole bunch of
the radiation alone, space radiation alone would have killed you. I mean, they didn't have the technology back then to even know all of that stuff.
Then I kind of heard too that Russia was trying to do it, so United States wanted to be the first to do it. So there was a lot of fudging of the actually did they actually do it or not. So like I said, I'm abreast of all the theories and all of that. Did it actually happen? Just kind of from what I heard, probably not, but you'll never know. Maybe Trump will release the actuality of what happened. I don't know.
I mean, because if you think about it, it's just like Reagan, he wanted to bankrupt the Soviet Union. What was one of the biggest, how much money NASA put in the late 50s to the 1960s? How much money was thrown out there? Trillions of dollars. And then think about it. We've never been back. We've only been in subspace. We've only been in subspace. That's as far as we've gone since then. And all this billions of our tax dollars, where did this money go? We should have at least a lunar base right now if we actually have been there. We haven't been back. That's just my opinion, but we'll see.
My theory is this, and it's kind of always been this: is I think that white people, they keep going up to the moon or to Mars and all that because they trying to build another little planet for them so they can blow this joint. I really think that that's really why they going up there. But
Remember Star Blazers when the Earth got radiated? You had to go to
yeah,
Iskandar to get the thing. That's what the white people are doing here.
I think that's what they're doing, but I think the Martians is like, I'll be your huckleberry. We saw what y'all did to Earth. Y'all not coming up here colonizing and bringing your funkiness up here. We heard y'all don't like to wash your legs. You like to eat a whole lot of mayonnaise. You don't know what season it is, past salt and pepper. You like casseroles on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Wash, rinse, repeat. Yeah, so they're like, no, you're not coming up here. Y'all like to take stuff that don't belong to you. Yeah, and you really love your guns, and we just don't want all that up here. Y'all got a little racism going on. You don't like people that don't look like y'all, so you really ain't gonna come up here and like us. So no, thank you. Anyway, love and appreciate every last one of y'all. See y'all at 5 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And for those of you guys who are probably like, oh, Deanna, that's my daughter. Oh, I'm getting crazy. Demetra and Donovan are fighting again. We're not. You ain't seen nothing. Anyway, we'll see y'all later. Come back at 5 p.m. Central Time. Peace.